What's up, family? How y'all doing this evening? Listen, I am not going to be before you long, but I really didn't want to let the day pass without speaking to this a little bit because I think this is critical. I don't know how many of you know, or even, I don't know how many of you are aware of who Roland Martin is, or Dr. Boyce Watkins is, or this young man, King Randall. But there was an explosive interview this week. I'm going to show you a little bit of it. I don't plan on being before you long, but we just got to talk about it just a little bit because I think, in my humble opinion, this meltdown, which is pretty much the only thing you can call it, this meltdown is critical to our understanding where we are as a community. Very, very critical. So just kind of to do some home rule stuff. As you're coming in, please make sure to love, comment, share, follow, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell up in the top. I want to show you guys a little bit of this video just to give you some context. Roland Martin, I think he used to be on CNN. I know he was on News One at one time, but he is a political pundit, if you will, and correspondent type of person. Does a lot of interviews, at least advertises to be a pro-black guy, and all of those great things, and I don't have any reason to doubt that at all. But that's kind of who he is. He has his own little, not little show, but he has a show right now, pretty major, I guess. Independent. That's kind of a big thing. I believe it's called the Roland Martin Digital Daily Show, and I believe it's the only digital daily show, as they put it. But they meet. They come and do their thing quite often. I came across it because one of the professors that I kind of follow jumps on there every now and then, which is Professor Carr. And so, he'll jump on there every now and then, do some things. But Roland, pretty good guy, does what he does. But anyway, he had this interview with this young fella, young brother by the name of King Randall. I believe I'm saying it right. If I'm saying it wrong, somebody holler at your boy. But he does this interview with this brother named King Randall. And I had to kind of go back and get some context of this story to kind of find out why. And you'll see what I'm talking about when I play this clip briefly. But, the interview definitely has a very aggressive tone, from the very beginning. And I don't think this tone is necessarily unique. But in the same manner that we kind of sat in front of this video where this elderly white lady had kind of lost her mind on a black lady for a moment, the same way we can look at that with critical analysis, we have to be able to look at black on black interaction with the same type of critique, right? And so this was definitely a black on black interaction that caught a lot of people's attention, caught Twitter's attention, as usual. But so I'm gonna let you be the judges for yourself. It's hard to call it a disagreement because what's clear when you see this, the two brothers are having two different conversations. But I'm gonna let you guys see a little bit of this. There's good old Roland, and there's good old brother Roland and brother King. Let me rewind this a little bit. And then. All right, let's hit this up. You just look mad already.
Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Joining us right now is King Randall, one founder of the X for Boys organization based out of Georgia. So King, explain why in the world you're conservative, correct?
Yes, sir.
So please explain to me why this bill, why Republicans are pushing for a voter suppression bill when last year we saw record turnout in Georgia, record turnout. So why would they want to?
All right, I gotta pause it right there. Okay, I promise you I'm gonna come right back to it. But I had to pause it right here because again, I said this conversation is critical to where we are as a community. Watch the first question. This is the opening up of the interview. This is the interview as is put on Dr. Boyce's, not Dr. Boyce's, but on Roland's page, right? Opens up. So you're a conservative, right? Okay, this question. And the next question is, why did the Republicans? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know it's happening kind of fast, but you said you introduced, and just trying to highlight some things here. You introduced the brother and the name of his organization. And the name of his organization isn't Republican anything, isn't Republican caucus, Republican Senate committee, Republican anything. You asked him, was he a conservative? And from there, you held him responsible for what Republicans are doing. All right. Now, why is this a critical conversation? Because as long as I have been alive, and I've lived both in the southern states and the northern states as far as this country is concerned, as long as I've been alive, it really does, that's my queen talking. It really does. When you hear the word, when you hear the rest, it just kind of gets worse. It does not get better from there at all, man. And, and I'm not going to question, but it does call into question. But as long as I've been alive, there's been this divide in the Black community: Republican. Well, are you Republican? Are you Democrat? Right? And then over the past 10 years, are you liberal? Are you conservative? Right? And so the first thing that I take issue with immediately is the brother identifies as conservative, which I don't have a problem with. But Roland then takes that and says, well, because you're conservative, you now have to answer for all the Republicans. And I'm like, what kind of sense is that? Now, why? And psychologically, that just looks like bullying to me. Right? I mean, we're going to watch a little bit more, but it looks like bullying because I can't get the Republicans who are responsible for trying to push these laws to come on my show. I'm going to find a Black brother to make responsible. So now you got to tell me why they're doing this, because he identified as conservative. Now, the thing is, even if he identified as Republican, how does that empower him to inform you? That's a real question. Okay, what if the guy came on there with a "Make America Great Again" hat on and says, no, not only am I a Republican, I'm a Trump voting Republican. And he say, well, why are the Republicans doing that? Which part of being that gives him information or even authority of information, right? So, journalistically, that's an issue. So there's some there's some problems here. But in spite of Roland and his issue, I first want to deal with that divide within us. Let's get off this Republican, Democrat, independent wing altogether. That's always going to lead us to a bad place, because either way, you're fighting somebody else's fight. Now, whether you're fighting somebody else's fight for a good reason or fighting somebody else's fight because you can get something out of it at the end of the day, that's irrelevant, right? But at the end of the day, you're fighting somebody else's fight, so don't ever fight each other over somebody else's fight. Why are you going to fight each other over somebody else's label? Oh, you're conservative, so I have to fight you now. How does that not look like oppression alive? How does that not look like generational oppression enacted? That now I don't even have to tell you how to mistreat each other. You can just use a label. So if this person is a Democrat, you can call. See, the thing that I saw this past election season, which every election season I kind of pull away from media, but this last election season, man, it was so hard to bear to watch so many beautiful Black people resort to calling each other names over a difference of a label in a federal election that rarely impacts your life. Now, you can play with all type of emotional games with it that you want. I'm an educated brother. I'm an intelligent brother. So you can't convince me that something is what it isn't. There is absolutely no reason for you to call somebody stupid because they rock a different label than you. I don't care who they support. That's ridiculous. So in this post-Trump America, the Black community has done more damage to itself in this than any anticipated damage that could have came from the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. And I think this interview is a prime example. So let's pick up on a little bit more of this. But you can already see the aggressive tone, right?
Strict voting when you just had record turnout in Georgia?
Well, let me start off by saying you had me mistaken. I'm not a Republican. I do consider myself conservative.
No. Actually, I didn't say Republican. I said you're conservative.
Okay.
I said you're conservative.
Right, absolutely.
That's what I said.
Right. Yeah, I was saying that because you called me a Republican on Twitter. However, with this particular bill, I don't consider voting my particular fight. I do consider voting an asset to us and maybe something we can use as a tactic to help. But as far as us pushing voting all the way out, like voting is going to be some systemic change for the Black community, to me is not the way to go. If you look at the human anatomy of the body has as many different parts. And I do respect you guys' fight, in regards to voting, but I don't consider myself fighting for the right to vote that much.
Do you not vote?
We haven't got anything.
Do you not vote?
Government. Yes, sir. I vote. Absolutely.
Okay, so when you say you guys' fight, first of all, there are multiple fights, there are multiple issues we can be concerned about.
Okay.
Voting is one of those issues.
All right, I gotta highlight this again because there's so much aggression here, and look at what you're displaying to the world. And I don't know, maybe that was just this week. First, we have, I know separate incident, but first we have a Black father, based off of what we hear, threatening to break his son's neck, and the Black community applauds it, because you say, no, that's what disrespect deserves. All right, well, when you start disrespecting people that are really disrespecting, when you start doing that to people who are really disrespecting you, I'll believe that. You call that, defending your honor, but let's not even play those games. You're doing that because it's your child and you feel some type of entitlement to bully your child. And let's just be absolutely clear. This has existed in our community, right? Because you're actually watching it again, right? This is a older gentleman who has made up in his mind that he's gonna school this young boy publicly. I want you to think about what kind of heart that is, right? What type of heart that is to want to do that. But the thing that I really wanted to point out is, did you vote? Did you not vote? All right, see now that's normally like one of those little dog whistle things, as if to say if somebody does not participate in electoral politics that they have no value. This, beloved, is a misnomer. All right, many people in our community that have worked the hardest for us have not participated in the federal electoral politics and have done more than many of the people you praise. You cannot continue to use your ignorance of a thing to lead your behavior, to lead how you behave towards others. All right, you have to be able to look at a spade and know that a spade is a spade. I had to point that out because people will use that. People will tell you, okay, now watch this. Notice that the brother said, I respect the fight. I respect that's what you guys do. That's just not how I fight. So what is also clear here is that the young man is in no way attempting to tell Roland that they shouldn't be fighting voter suppression. He never says anything remotely like that. Please go watch the video yourselves. He never says anything even remotely like that. Instead, he says, I get that's what you see as the most important thing. And I honor that because that's your vein. But for me, what I see as the most important thing, and he'll kind of explain that more, is educating these kids right where they are. You know what I'm saying? See, watch this. There is no political representation without political education. All right. So anytime somebody's trying to get your vote without getting your voice and making sure that your voice is informed, they are using you, which is why, I know everybody love him and everybody love Kamala, but it's why when Ice Cube went to Joe Biden to expose the reality of what politics are like, he goes to Joe Biden and says, hey, this is a possible plan for Black folk. Can you take a look at it? He says, well, let's just get me elected first, and then I'll do something. And within the first week of his office, President Biden drafts an executive order. This is before the mass shootings, mind you. President Biden drafts an executive order for Asian Americans, and here we are 3 months in, and nothing on the books. for Black Americans, right? People like Roland want to continue to lead us in this direction without holding accountable when they were wrong. At this moment, I get it still early in the game, but it's late enough to realize, no, you not saying the other guy was any better, but you got to ask yourself, why all of the Black celebrities, why all of the Black political people who got something to say don't ever have a candidate until they've been given one? Oh, no. Think about that. The next time before you try to challenge somebody on whether they vote or not, which should not be the measure of somebody's usefulness in the community. Really? Do you do the token thing? Oh, you out here feeding people. You out here educating people. You out here teaching people about politics. You out here teaching people about law. But if you don't go down there and participate in that sham and that fraud, you're useless. Man, you know what type of craziness that is? All right. So there's a real divide here. Let's catch a little bit more. And then my food is on the way, so I gotta go.
Are you not concerned that Republicans in your state are trying to restrict access to the ballot for no reason other than they are pushing the lie that Donald Trump also pushed?
Right, absolutely. I understand exactly what you're saying. However, again, that's not my fight. I believe.
No. I asked you a question. The question is this here. Do you believe Republicans in your state are wrong to be pushing this voter suppression bill?
Can you give me the list of things that's all on the bill? Because I know you said the vote.
This part of the conversation is completely
It's a perfect
unnecessary.
example. This particular bill right here gets rid of no excuse absentee balloting. Republicans in Georgia passed no excuse absentee balloting 15 years ago, thinking it was going to help them. They're angry because you had people who voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and also John O's.
I just got a quick question. All right. He tells you what these Republicans are trying to do, which again, the brother does not identify with Republicans. He makes that very clear, right? But Roland outlines, Mr. Martin outlines, we both Martins, both outline, he begins to outline what the Republicans are trying to do and what they have tried to do. And I typically don't like talk like that because it's a half-sided conversation. Because don't you ever sit here and tell me what Republicans have done and not tell me what Democrats are doing. Okay, Joe Biden lied to the Black community face, and y'all don't care. Again, I'm not saying Trump was the one. No, not at all. But I'm saying you should still care when somebody lying to you, though. Just see, you cannot be so blind that just because somebody rocks the label you identify with, you're gonna let them just kind of use you. Kind of takes me back earlier. You know, if people really cared about politics in the Black community and Black people being participators in that Black community, then they would be in the community right now preparing Black folk how to put forth a candidate and how to support that candidate for the next 4 years. So that when it comes time to vote, but that nobody wants to talk like that. That's the loan conversation. Well, I got to let you know, if you're not having the loan conversation, you're probably being conned. Because again, what he said, they did this 15 years ago, and now they're doing it again. All right, so how many times we gonna sit at the table with people that we know cheating? How much sense does that make? How much sense does it make to know, okay, they're gonna cheat, but y'all keep playing fair. Y'all just keep showing up and playing in that politics, but they're gonna cheat. Even if you get everybody there to vote on what you want them to vote on, what this brother is kind of pushing for without pushing against the vote. Hear that clearly. He's not pushing against the vote. He says, but what good does it do if y'all vote and get things done and they change their mind about wanting to count your vote? Can your people stand on their own? And that's really what this conversation boils down to. Now my time is almost up because I told you I was not going to be up before you long because I got some food coming and I got to eat. But okay. So first things first, you see here Why we expect the young black brother to be able to answer what the Republicans are trying to do? Why aren't you holding the Republicans and the Democrats accountable for what they're doing? Why would you take your aggression against racist Republicans and put it on a black brother just because he says he's conservative? How smart does that make you? There was no nicer way for me to say that than that. How smart does it make you to be more angry at a black brother? We're not gonna have time to go through the whole video. At a black brother who started a school out of his house. Obviously, I'm a little passionate about this one because my wife and I have done the same thing. But this brother started a school out of his house. He took kids out of government custody and have them going through his stuff. They're getting ready to buy a building, and instead of giving him accolades for the work he's doing, you're trying to destroy him because he's not playing with your token. What type of foolishness is that? No, that's foolishness. That's foolishness. Again, I'm not going to be able to go through the whole video, but y'all watch it. Y'all see it there. Again, my food. But this is critical because this is where the majority of the black community is. There is a split, okay? There is a split between within the black community of one group that says, get what the government owes us, right? Those are the groups that typically identify, not always, and we should be very careful about those blanket terms, but those people typically identify as Democrats. Those ones that don't give us what the government owes us, right? Give us our reparations. Give us the welfare programs that we need to get on our feet. Give us the financial aid. Give us the scholarships. Some people say it's socialism, whatever, but they're the people who says, no, we're in this. Our aim, our responsibility, in many cases, our only responsibility, this is how they feel, is to get the government to do what it's supposed to do. Then there is another set. And again, they typically identify, not always, probably not even the majority of the time, but a lot of times they get pigeonholed into being Republicans. Now, I've been called a Republican. You just got to know me to know better. But and any Republican that knows me knows better. They know he ain't. I've been called a Democrat. I am not that either. No, I'm not impressed by either. I'm not. I mean, they playing games, man. I'm not with that. But this is so. So the other one, which sometimes get called Republicans, or sometimes will label themselves as conservative. I don't necessarily label myself that way, but we got people we love who label themselves that way. But those people are typically, watch this, do for self. And what you're seeing in this conversation is an argument between, I hate to say it, but it's kind of plain, the old generation who says make the government pay, and the new generation who says do for self if they don't. And right now, the old generation is like, this man is going out of his way to be rude and demeaning and aggressive and abrasive. You have to call it what it is. The way he's talking to this young brother, it's not healthy. It's not something we should celebrate. And it's not something that should be tolerated. I'm going to take his face off there because he kind of look evil right now. But it's not something that should be tolerated. Especially, like, the only way I could have even imagined that going that far is if the brother came on there and said, no, you wrong for trying to stop voter suppression. No, you wrong by telling people to vote. And the brother didn't do that. The brother came on, no, I respect your fight. I honor why y'all do that. It's just not my fight. For me, I see what's the most important thing is for me to go ahead and get started with these babies. And later on in the conversation, he even goes as far to say that, and we can put them in position as they are better educated. And then, Brother Roland attacked that as well. And the more you pay attention, you realize the attack isn't based in any type of logic. It's a generational discord. And when I say generational, I don't just mean age, but there's a generation of thought. there are two different generations of thought. Make the government do and do for self. And right now, the do for self people are willing to support the make the government pay folks, but the make the government pay folk are not willing to support the do for self. Now, obviously, if you know anything about what my wife and I do, we don't have not one grant, and we don't look for them, not government grants anyway, to do anything that we do. That's no knock against any organization that uses them. We've always been clear. No, get it how you get it. As for us, we just have a different mindset and a different understanding where I believe, and I know this is going to be hard for some people to hear, but I'm just talking about me right now. I believe if you can't do it for yourself, if you can't make it happen, you don't deserve it. And though your governmental authorities will never articulate it that way to you, that's precisely how they're treating you. People feel like they can give you scraps when they know that's all you can get, when they know that's all you will accept. So this does not have to be division. This does not have to be an issue of contention. There should not be a divide for the people who say make the government do and the people who say do for self. And at this moment, you don't see the do for self people, not for the most part. Now, again, we're not going to do generic blanket statements, but for the most part, you don't see do for self people who are actually doing. That's the best way to say that. You don't see do for self people who are actually doing, going down and tearing down people who vote. Nope. Even though you sit in a room with me for about 30 minutes, I'll probably make you feel bad about it. Not bad about voting, but bad about thinking that your voting did something when you don't have it attached to anything. It's really ignorance. And the rest of the world knows it's ignorance. That's why every other minority community gets a deal. Asian Americans had an executive order before the shootout, man. Before the shootout, Asian Americans had an executive order on the books. Watch this. This again, no, this is not against them. This is telling you what you need to learn. Because they had people like Ice Cube that went up there and said, you don't get our support until you guarantee something. But when we did that, Roland Martin did the same thing to Cube he did to this brother. I don't know if y'all remember, but Roland Martin brought Ice Cube on his show and completely had a whole baby, because this black man dared to say, yes, I know everybody else loves you, Biden. I know they love you because you were with Barack. I know they love you because you chose Kamala as your running mate, even though when she was running against you, she called you a racist. And so now we just gonna pretend like that ain't true no more. Does she not believe that anymore? Or does she just make up random accusations about people? These are serious questions. But we said, we Joe, we love you. Cube said, we love you. I see why they love you, but I'm not trying to get in a friendship with you, Joe. Politics is business, Joe. And so everybody else is saying, hey, you got to get Joe in there to stop Trump. No, the Asians went up there and said, oh, forget Trump. No, we take care of us. What you gonna do for us in there? Cube tried to do that for us. He goes up there, hey, what's gonna happen for us? He talks to both of them. He talks to Trump and he talks to Biden, and Roland Martin crucified him. One of the people I look up to was even crucifying him. And I was disappointed because he was and I just gotta say it, I'm not gonna put his name out there because I honor him a little too much. But if you watch Roland Martin's show, you already know who it was. But he admitted himself that when Cube came in, Cube was humble about the whole thing. He said, what most people don't know, who was just running their mouth, Ice Cube went to Dr. Claude Anderson. By the way, never, ever have a conversation about reparations without checking with Randall Robinson and Claude Anderson. How do you talk about reparations in the United States without talking about the brother who's been fighting for it since the 70s successfully? Man, he was a part of that White House cabinet. This dude, man. But Cube went to Dr. Claude, ran his plan through him, had Dr. Claude formulated, walked through it with him. When he showed up on Roland's show, he asked Roland, he asked the professors who were there, hey, if y'all have any input, please let me know. I'm just trying to do my best to do what's best. It ain't about me. We just trying to make sure we get something different from our people. And every single one of them told him, no, don't do that. This ain't the right time. See, at some point, you got to ask yourself, when is this the blind leading the blind? Because some of y'all act like we ain't took L's that we have taken. No. For don't you ever tell me the civil rights movement was successful if you're still fighting to guarantee the rights that you supposedly secured in 1967. Why are we talking about voter suppression in 2021 if it was successful? But see, the thing is, most people don't even know the origin. You don't even know why Black people wanted to vote in this country. You're letting somebody use you, get your emotions all stirred up. Inform your opinions, inform your behavior so you don't be out here mistreating each other over your misunderstanding. Did you not know that the whole reason the voting rights issue ever came up had nothing to do with the Electoral College? It had nothing to do with picking the president. It had nothing to do with picking a senator. And so everybody who gets up and says, oh, your grandmama died for this is a 100% liar. That's a lie. And it's inappropriate to say. Nobody died for the right to vote. They were killed. Say that right. They didn't die for that. They weren't a sacrifice. They were a martyr. They didn't die. They were killed. All right? And they didn't want the right to vote for the right to pick a president. This shows you how misguided we've gotten. They wanted the right to vote because that was the only way they could serve on a jury to convict their killers. People were killing Black folk left and right, kind of like now. You actually study the statistics, you'll realize that statistically, nothing has changed for the better. Economically, we're actually worse. But it's easier for me to get you excited about a token, emotional about a token, than it is for me to actually inform you about the problem and the real solution, right? So the biggest problem that I have with this, or the reason I find this critical, because this is another one of those areas where when we're supposed to be working together, we're divided against each other. And what I need you to see here is there is a class of Black folk. There is a class of Black folk that seem to be empowered to keep you out of it. There seems to be a class of Black folk that tend to benefit from telling you not to do for self, right? And I don't think that's the right goal. If you study history, no oppressed people have ever solved their problem by voting. This is just real. Voting is not for oppressed people. Voting is for people who already have their equality, right? You have a pastor, it's a democracy. America ain't no democracy. It's a bureaucracy. You understand that? When you're talking about a type of government, you're talking about where power is held, all right? Power is not held by the people in America. Therefore, America is not truly a democracy. You understand that? It is not majority rule. It is majority rule if the bureaucracy approves. And this is just having an understanding. This is just having an understanding. And in any case, you shouldn't want to be a part of anything that is majority rule if you are the minority. That's the game that these politicians keep you on over and over again, which means the only way to get your voice heard, so they say, is to attach your wagon to somebody else because a rising tide lifts all boats. Please point to me at any one time in American history when the tide has been rising and our boats were rising with it. And do not point to individual success. Because when you point to America's success, you don't point to Bill Gates. When you point to America's success, you don't point to Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos. When you point to America's success, you point to America's GDP. And you don't know what that word is, you shouldn't be having the conversation. Don't ever allow yourselves to have opinions that haven't been informed. You understand? So if we're going to talk about our success, we can't talk about the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's and the Obamas. We have to talk about, no, what's our GDP as a whole? No. Not how is some of us doing it. No other people judge their people that way. Mexicans are not judging the status of Mexico by how many Mexicans get rich. Only Black people measure the status of themselves by how one or two are doing. Every other group measure the status, how well they're doing. They check the temperature. They do so by measuring the whole group. That's something we're not doing. That's why we're losing the fight. I don't understand why the group, and everybody's not like this. There's plenty of you who are like, no, Pastor, I'm kind of like you. I'm going to respect some of you even more. You like, no, I'm going to vote and I'm going to respect the people that do for self. I'm going to vote. Watch this. Some of you, no, I'm going to vote and I'm going to do for self. I'm going to vote and I'm going to build economic floor. I'm going to vote and I'm going to start new industries. I'm going to vote and I'm going to build new schools. Now, there's some of you going to do that. Beautiful. There's some of you like, hey, I'm voting. I'm not doing that do for self stuff. Fine. Just vote how we need you to vote when we need you to vote, right? There's some of you like, hey, I'm never going to vote. I'm just going to do for self stuff. Fine. Just do what we need when we need you to do it. Why can't we have respect for the multiversity of Black? I don't need everybody to think like me for me to respect them. All Americans don't think like you, but you respect all of them. Now, how you respect all Americans and can't respect all Black folk? What type of sick is you? That's a special sickness. No, I don't watch this. I know I got a lot of brothers and sisters in the conscious community, who say stuff like, there's a certain classes of Black folk that we're going to have to leave behind, certain Black folk that we're going to have to get rid of. I don't think like that. Maybe a reality, may not be. I don't think like that. I don't believe there's not one Black person that is disposable. I don't see how other people are. Anybody who really feels that way has not truly comprehended the gravity of the situation. It is only when you have fully comprehended the gravitas of the situation that you're able to come to the proper conclusion that we can't afford to lose nobody. We need every single one of us. Every single one of us. The ones that want to vote, the ones that don't want to vote. The ones that want to run for office, the ones that want to start schools, the ones that want to become superintendents, the ones that want to produce their own schools, right? The ones that want to get a good job and the ones that want to build good jobs. There's room for it all. I don't like ratchetness at all, not even a little bit. Not what's the name? Megan Thee Stallion fan? Nope. I joke about it with some of my partners. Just not me. Not into it at all, but I have no problems with anybody who is. Some people like chocolate. Some people like vanilla. Some people like strawberry. You ain't gotta like what I like to be for what I'm for. Like, can we handle that as a people? You ain't gotta like what I like to be for what I'm for. You ain't gotta like what I like to help me. And as long as you treat me with the respect that I ain't gotta like what you like. Right? I get disrespected because I don't watch it. Anybody can come in my circle, they can do anything, and I ain't got no issues. The moment they put something on and I turn away, I'm like, I'm not gonna really watch that. Not like I got baby eyes or anything like that. But no, I can see anything. But I just certain things I don't look at, certain things, not because I'm thinking, oh, that's sin. I'm like, no, I don't even get the appeal. I know I see why you do. But can you respect my difference enough? Can you respect my difference enough to see that maybe that's not what appeals to me? You know, don't disqualify my black because I'm not like you. Bruh, man, there are 54 entire countries on the continent of Africa, and there are more than 300 ethnicities. We gonna be different. Some people like rice, some people like yams. We gonna be different. It's okay. Some of you like booty shaking and everything you do. That's fine. That's fine. Hey, shake what your mama gave you. I grew up in the 90s, baby. You know, but then there's some people who don't. Don't call them bougie, stuck up, or anything like that. Don't separate yourselves over nothing foolish like that. That's not worth separating over. That's not worth being mad over. Don't take your issues out. Don't take the issues you got with America out on each other. Because that's what you really saw in this video. Roland is frustrated with America, but blaming it on black people. And that's not healthy. Roland is frustrated with America and has not one solution. You just got to say that what it is. See, some of you can say, well, he popular, he got this. Ain't nobody talking about popularity. We talking about productivity. No, popularity is measured by likes. Productivity is measured by change. Produce, right? Now I got to see some things. But one of the things I need you to see, hopefully you see this, and I'm through my food here. Hopefully you see this, is that some people ain't even trying to lead you to change. To hear this brother saying do for self, I'm gonna do for self, and to hear Roland attacking that. To hear this brother say, no, instead of me getting a grant to start my school, I called the community together. I started with nothing and just went to it. And Roland has a problem with that? Folk, what's wrong with us? No, we gotta fix that. I'm not saying cancel Roland. I don't do this cancel culture. I don't believe that, but we gotta hold each other accountable. And again, kind of like with the Kirk Franklin situation and his son, it's not so much about Roland and Randall as it is about all of us and the way we treat each other. I mean, that's the key. Roland, whatever you're trying to do, it's not gonna be successful for us. Don't get me wrong, you might make some money off of it, but it's not gonna be successful for us if you are despising our youth, And somebody, I know y'all like, well, ain't you gonna say something for the young brother? I have no need to. The young brother handled himself respectfully. And the one thing I'm not gonna do is play that little faux professional game y'all play where you walked in and you walk in and say, well, both of y'all wrong. No. We ain't both wrong unless we both wrong, right? And at this moment, we're not saying Roland Martin is wrong for being passionate about voter suppression. Not at all. Not at all. Bro, be passionate about that. Do what you do. We're not saying Roland Martin is wrong for being passionate about being a Democrat. Yeah, I could do some arguing there, but I'm going to leave that alone. What we're saying he's wrong for is the mistreatment of the noun that was sitting across from him on that screen, the person and the idea that he attacked. You know what I'm saying? That's you, because it's bigger than Roland and Randall. Everybody out there who's thinking like King Randall, who's thinking, man, I can help my community just by starting where I was. And the brother actually has a profound testimony. Like, I mean, a lot of the brothers in the hood really needed to hear what he was saying. Really, I just went forward and tried it, and taught myself and learned what I need to learn. But some of y'all scared of that because you've already made up in your mind that these are things you can't do. And that even if you did do them, you're going to mess up. That's self-hate. That's a sickness. You're capable of doing anything that anybody else is capable of doing, which is why, am I for make the government do what they should do? Absolutely. I believe that more than anybody. But I don't believe you can get that until you do for self. You can't get anybody to do right by you from a position of weakness. You have to do so from a position of strength. Even the character of Christ in the gospel says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. See, most of y'all don't need, because y'all be tripping. Like y'all always use that little story about Jesus getting mad and going in the temple and flipping over tables because he saw the money changers in there. Y'all always use that little story. It's your little favorite story because Jesus caught an attitude and he started let everybody see them hands. I get it, ha ha, he. But you only know the story means. Why was he upset? Somebody said, oh, he was upset because they were selling in the temple. That's not what the text says. The text says he was upset because of the money changers. You don't change no money at the store. No. You do that at the same place you go to get your passport. Because you're not understanding the story as a historical narrative, in the sense of dealing with the people who have been oppressed where they live, right? Where they actually live at. They've been oppressed, and now the oppression, see, you're already far gone past this point. You way past this point. But at this point, the people in the story still had their own money. But the government got smart or wicked and put people in the temple. They said, hey, you can come give us your Jewish money, and then we'll give you Roman money, because now you can be like Roman citizens. And Jesus comes in and he says, see, this is what's killing y'all right here. This is the whole reason. Render unto Caesar what's Caesar's, right? Just, in other words, give that back. You remember the miracle on the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000? You remember what Peter wanted to do? Peter wanted to go get some money. Peter wanted to go buy something. Peter said, hey, we ain't got enough money for this. And the Christ character gets frustrated. I say character because it's a narrative. It's important that you view it as a narrative so you pay attention to all the details. Christ gets frustrated. What you gonna try to buy something for? That's your problem. You keep trying to buy your way out of what you can only build your way out of. Ain't no buying your way out of this. He says, no, check what's in the crowd. Just see what's all here. What was he saying? Let's do for self. Don't go buy nothing. People think bombs destroyed Black Wall Street. You're misinformed. You're misinformed. If you think what stopped Black Wall Street were the bombs, you didn't read for enough. You're misinformed. They built back up after that. They certainly did. They certainly did. They built back up stronger than ever. See, you need the bombs to have destroyed Black Wall Street so you can feel better about it not being here. You need to be able to say somebody else tore it down and we couldn't do nothing about it, so you can feel better about not having one in your community. But the reality is they built back after the bombs. What killed it was integration. What killed it, and now just to be clear, when I say integration, let me change that. It was the mindset of Black folk that killed Black Wall Street after integration. You don't got to look too far. You can look at your own communities. You wonder why grandmama's house up for sale, No, because you wanted to move off and be big and be fancy. You wanted to keep up with the Joneses. You didn't care what the family land meant. You got to be honest about that stuff. I mean, I get it. You didn't know no better. None of us did. But you got to be honest. So then when you look at things in life and wonder, well, why don't I have certain advantages? Like, oh, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. People stopped shopping in Black Wall Street because they could shop at Macy's and they could shop at Penny's and they could shop at Sears. People stopped shopping at Black Wall Street for the very same reason people will walk past a Black business today to go to Walmart. So that's why you can't have the make government do if you're not going to have do for self. Because then when the government do, what you going to do with it? Don't let the Dave Chappelle episode be what happened. Newport stock's done skyrocketed. No. What we going to do? We got to have a plan. We got to have a floor. But before we can even get that far, number one, we got to get informed. You know, what I would ask anybody that's connected to me on any level, whether it's community, whether it's spirituality, community, opportunity, amnesty, or policy, do not have an opinion if it is not informed. Did you know you have an ability to do that? Did you know you have the ability not to have an opinion if it is not informed? You have the ability to say, oh, I don't know enough about that yet. I want you that this is so important. Do not allow yourself to have an opinion without information. That is literally the definition of ignorance. And that's the only way I can say that. Definition of ignorance. If you're allowing yourself to keep having opinions without information, just stop that. Break that habit. Every time you get ready to sound like you're about to have an opinion and you know you don't have some information on it, go ahead and give yourself the assignment to get informed on it, or admit you don't care enough about it to get informed on it. Which means if you don't care enough about it to get the right information, you don't care enough about it to speak on it. Now that's important so that then guys like me who do care enough about it to look up the information, we can be heard. Now, instead of getting drowned out by people who are passionate but not productive, right? So, you know, y'all know me. Everything we teach it's going to be productive. It's going to be something that gets you on what you're doing. One of my favorite pastors in the world, old Baptist guy, been gone for generations. His name was Vernon Johns. He pastored a little church in Alabama before Dr. King pastored that same church. He left a legacy there, but he was due for self. Marcus Garvey, due for self. Malcolm X, due for self. Dr. King's last 16 speeches, due for self. I may not get to the mountaintop with you. I may not get there with you, but I promise you, we as a people will get there. Where? The promised land. Where is the promised land? The place where you got to do for self. And you should honestly, I'm not saying divide against, but you should distrust anybody who discourages you from doing for self. We need to be able to, anytime somebody come up and no, you ain't got to do that, I'm going to tell you how we can do it. You need to go ahead and be like, nah, bro. Nah, no. Why should you as a people want to do for self? So nobody can control what you have any longer. See, watch this. Why is a major segment of our community unemployed? Because a major segment of our community does not produce jobs. You're expecting people who wanted you to be on the bottom of the ladder to put you on the top of their jobs. You have lost your mind. You have lost your mind. So we can't afford to just be raising employees in the Black community. We have to, watch this, we can't afford just to be even building business owners in the Black community, because many business owners because of the model they subscribe to, because they typically choose what is easy over what is necessary. See, my stuff don't look like everybody else's. Everything we do, it got flaws in it. Everything we're doing is under construction because we have not chosen the easy. We've chosen the necessary. And there'll be few that find that way. But most of them, they choose a model that's easier for them to do, requires the least amount of information. And when I say easy, I really don't mean easy in the work that they have to do. I'm saying easy in figuring out the model. And so because of those models they choose, at the most, they're only going to be able to pay 3 to 5 people $10 an hour. And I'm not saying it's horrible, but it's not great. No, live your dream. Do what you're gonna do. But as far as all of us, no, that's not great. That's not if what we're producing, if the only businesses we think we're capable of producing are businesses where we're hiring people to make no more than they could make at Chick-fil-A, then we're not even dreaming big enough. We're not in the game properly. And part of the reason we're not in the game is because we have these two critical segments in the community that instead of working together are agitating each other. One of the reasons we started Bridge City is to help bridge that divide between the church and the conscious community. Now, a lot of people claim to be bridging that divide, and they're not. They have no common ground. And it's really sad because the only way you can't find common ground between the church and the conscious community is for you to be blind, or the blind leading the blind. Because it's there, somebody just has to care enough to connect it. In the same way, between this segment of who says make the government do and the segment who says do for self, there is a way that we can bring these segments together and we can all get what we're going after. But we have to deal with this mindset in those who made up in their mind that making the government do it is the only way. See, that's a problematic mindset because that means you see your people as small, insignificant, and incapable of doing what every other people group on this planet have done. Haiti did it. Cuba did it. Ghana did it. Come on now. Zimbabwe did it. America did it in 1776. You understand? So when you got people who say, oh, you can't do nothing without the government. Imagine in 1776 when Thomas Jefferson and all these guys are getting together saying, hey, we're not going to take this from the British anymore. Somebody said, well, you're not going to be able to do anything without Parliament. Now, if you don't got Parliament, I know I said the bank. If you don't got Parliament, no, that's right. You don't got Parliament or Parliament or whatever it is. If you don't got that, you ain't going to be able to do anything. They would have called him a traitor. Benedict Arnold. Check your history, folks. And so, again, now I'm not calling Roland a traitor, but anybody who does not believe that the Black community is capable of doing what every other community on this planet is capable of doing is, in a sense, a traitor to themselves. And by virtue, they're not going to do what's good for us. Man, y'all going to wait another 50 years for certain people whose names I'm not going to name, that their family members might be watching. But y'all going to wait another 50 years for politicians who never proved their worth to prove their worth. And you're going to say they've been right by us just because they still here. They've done right by us just because they still alive. And it's like, the only reason you feel that way is because you allow yourself to have opinions without information. If you go ahead and just say, you know what, I'm not going to live my life in ignorance. I'm not going to spew ignorance. I'm not going to share ignorance. And so the only way I can make sure that happens or doesn't happen is to make sure I get informed on everything I want to talk about. And so that's why my conversations are always different. Listen, love you guys. Thank you for hanging with me. I stayed on longer than I planned on staying on. Baby girl is probably mad at me because the food is getting cold. But I'm going to get out of here. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Hey, don't forget to rock back with us tomorrow at 1 o'clock for midday march. And that's 1 o'clock Central Time for those of you who are in the North and on the East Coast. All right, love you guys. Have a wonderful night. And until next time, keep rising, baby.